Polydar or Pronoundar, every pony. This is BronyDan. It's not original, but hey, you try coming up with originality these days. As some of you may not know, I often tend to judge an animated series on its humour and comedy. If it's able to make me at least give a chuckle within the first episode, I am inclined to give the rest of the series a look. Which is why I always wait in anticipation for that certain episode that could really make me laugh. And fortunately, this particular episode of Friendship is Magic does manage to pull this off. So let's take a look at the Saddle Row Review. We begin with the main six rushing over to Carousel Boutique in a panic over something they've done that could possibly upset Rarity.
Rarity's our friend. If any pony is gonna understand, it'll be her.
I was wondering when all of you were going to show up. Now we can all read the review together!
Apparently there is a review in the newspaper about Rarity's new store in Manhattan, and all of the main six had contributed to the interview. And this leads into a flashback with the interview being conducted by J. Jonah Jameson.
I'm gonna interview you and your friends so I can paint a picture of how it all came together.
A word picture, mind you, not an actual picture.
And if the whole thing becomes a disaster, I got an article on Standby that can confirm it was Spider-Man's fault. Or should that be Spider-Mare? Or Spider-Stallion? Parker? Give me some damn photos that can confirm Spider-Man's gender! So through a flashback in a flashback... Oh god, I'm getting Titanic the Animated Musical vibes! As we see that the new store is being opened in Saddle Row. Obviously, this is a reference to Savile Row, but the thing that has to be remembered is that Savile Row is in London, not Manhattan. And I don't really think it's that well known for its fashion. Whenever people hear Savile Row, they just think that was where the Beatles recorded their music and where the most famous album cover of all time was shot. And we learn that the store needs to be ready by tonight for its grand opening, but it's a mess and it has a pushy landlord. Isn't it always the case?
You've met my daughter? The apple of my ear, the hay in my hoof. You will let her work with you.
And all the way throughout the episode, we keep cutting back to the interviews and the main six trying to get the store ready on time. This is where a lot of the comedy comes from for me, because it puts me in the mind of the early seasons of Total Drama. Does anybody else remember that show? And we also have the inclusion of raccoons living in the stockroom, a dance hall above the store with loud music.
Punk is nothing but death and crime and the rage of a beast.
All the clothes have arrived completely disorganized, and Coco Pamela has a cameo to explain why she can't be in the episode due to a cold. It may seem like I'm rushing through this episode, but with the way that it's structured, what with the interviews and such, it's very hard to talk about it in a lineal sense. But nevertheless, this episode does include some really funny moments, as I have said at the beginning.
Oh, how I wish I could make copies of myself.
Yeah, making copies of yourself always sounds like a great idea, but before you know it, you're locked in a room with 50 Pinkie Pies watching paint dry.
Now, a lot of people have their own theories about the Pinkie clone in the back there, and how there could be other Pinkie Pies scattered across Equestria. But here's my theory. If we remember the bloopers to Friendship games, my guess it's just their version of Pinkie Pie on holiday. So the rest of the main six decide to all chip in to help Rarity get the store ready in time. Pinkie tries to get the music turned down, Fluttershy decides to get the raccoons out, Twilight plans to organise the dresses, Rainbow Dash tries to get some new employees, and Applejack decides to deal with Mr. Stripe's daughter and her spoon clothes idea.
Personally, I think spoon clothes ain't such a bad idea. Useful too. Eating soup, stirring gumbo, digging little holes.
Yeah, but you would need someone like Lady Gaga to promote in order for it to work, because for whatever reason, if anybody else were to do it, they'd be called a freak. But if she were to do it, it's considered art. However, things don't seem to work that way either, because they all seem to be doing what they think Rarity would do, rather than what they would do in their own way. So they all try again, but this time making sure it's how they would handle the situations, and because of this, the store is able to open on time, thus making its opening a success and being given a positive review. Although I do have to wonder what the reporter's reaction was by the end of all this.
You serious?
Yeah, that's about right. Well, this was certainly a fun episode. Like Newbie Dash, this episode was like a reversal of another episode. In this case, Castle Sweet Castle, where the conflict there was the main six were trying to use their own inputs and ideas into decorating Twilight's castle. Here, it's because they tried too hard to use Rarity's judgment and learned that maybe your own judgments and decisions is what's needed when your friends trust you to do the right thing. The humor in this episode was really top-notch. I didn't get to show you half of the really funny moments in this, but trust me when I say you will not be disappointed, both in the comedy and the episode itself. This is BronyDan saying, Nosta.